Hello, today is October 19th, 2024. We always do our disclaimer first. We'll go over our calls. We'll make our predictions. It's my trading plan for Monday, which is October 21st, 2024. Please remember I can be completely wrong. Any trade you make should be made at your own risk. I have to remind people my system produces targets, it doesn't produce entries. You have to use other forms of technical analysis for that. Okay, well, how about Friday? Friday, we look for the pattern with the early high, which is this. Monday's pattern has the early low. Now, we had mixed signals. Commonest thing is a gap and a prompt move outside the day's range. That didn't happen. Next most common is the close little change, big move the next day. Well, we were a little changed with about 10 minutes left to trade, but that doesn't count. I think 0.4% is too much for me, so I'm going to say that didn't happen either. So we had an uncommon day where none of those things happened. I've been waiting for follow-through for a while, and I think once we get follow-through, we have a ways down, but that hasn't happened yet. What has happened is a pattern repeating itself back to back. Tuesday's pattern was negative, even though the day's pattern is normally positive, followed by a partial recovery. Thursday's pattern was negative, followed by a partial recovery, even though this is normally a positive day. So it's the same thing back to back. These things don't repeat forever. So if, underline the word if, we get another negative day Monday, which as we'll see is quite possible, don't look for a recovery like this. If we get another negative day, I wouldn't count on a recovery saving you. That would be a start of a big drop, but we haven't had the negative day yet. We get to cross the target off the last 58, 62, 34. That printed right at the open, and there was resistance over that price. We still have lower targets. That really should print at some time. During the day, we got an ultimate sell signal and an optional higher target. That's enough to satisfy the ultimate sell, but almost always you're going to get more than the minimum. So almost always you're going to undercut these levels before waiting very long. These moves outside the range here were called false, and they've already retraced. The break here I consider an unstable break. At some point we shouldn't go higher than this line, and we should retrace down to here, but it doesn't tell us what happens in the middle. All in all, I think this rally is doomed at some point, but it doesn't mean it has to stop right now. But we have to give up on this old count I had. Wave 5 and Wave 1 can't both be longer than Wave 3, so that's the wrong count. Let's go take a look at the long-term picture again and come up with a new count. The longer-term count I haven't changed in a year. We had an ABC for a major low that probably isn't going to be seen again in my lifetime or anyone else's lifetime. I think that low is going to hold for a long time. And what happened since then, that's less clear to me. We take this price, multiply it by a fib number, we get this high. Multiply it by another fib number, and there's a good chance we're going to see 61.55. That doesn't mean we have to go there right now. It doesn't mean we can't drop first. We have to find some way to count this. I'm not happy with any of the counts I've come up with, but this is what I have now. It's possible to count this as wave 1. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It doesn't break any rules. You have an ABC with good fibs, and I still count this as 5 waves up. Now, that's not the only way to end the 5th wave, but I do think it's a clear 5 waves up. And this really doesn't break any rules. Doesn't mean wave 5 has to stop here. But if it stops here, you can explain it. Sentiment indicators are still way too high for me. We have too many lower targets for me. And we're entering a period in the calendar where the market tends to be weak. None of this means we have to drop on Monday. We could still go up. Just because something works on the wave count doesn't mean some other wave counts isn't going to work. But if we drop, and that's an if, I wouldn't look for the pullback, and I'd look for good follow-through. Well, Monday's pattern has the early, well, these are the patterns we should see next week. Monday's pattern has the early low regardless of how we open. The patterns we saw Tuesday and Thursday of last week should have resulted in lower prices printing. That didn't happen. Some may consider that as a bullish sign, but I interpret it as leaving unsatisfied targets at lower prices. There are MEJT targets at lower prices, and the trend line break we showed on that green daily chart should lead to lower prices at some time as well. Now, Tom Bowley's work tells us we're entering one of the year's most bearish periods according to the Gregorian calendar. Most of the timing stuff I see is based on the lunar calendar. His isn't, and we're entering one of his very negative time periods. This period doesn't have to last long, but it can lead to a meaningful decline. That doesn't mean we get a decline every single year, but you just have to be aware of past history that we're entering one of his weak periods. Sentiment indicators continue to show too much optimism. Now, none of this requires a drop to start on Monday, but if it does, there's a wave count that explains the short-term top here. Regardless of what happens next week, we remain in a strong bull market with much higher prices on tap. Now, that being said, the odds favor decline first, even if it doesn't last too long, and even if I can't pinpoint the top with precision. If we start down Monday and undercuts some important levels, I think that drop's going to have legs. But if we keep going up, I just don't have a way to play it right now, to be perfectly honest with you. When sentiment is like this, I don't like to get carried away. So it's the pattern Monday with the early low. If we drop, it should have legs, and if we don't, I'm just going to have to reassess what I'm going to do. That's my plan for Monday, and that's today's call.